v.h.s.x? What do you mean?
Alright everybody, we're back playing some Pyramid Head. Just thought I would showcase the lobby here, because we do have a survivor quick swapping at the final like countdown of the lobby screen and whatnot. Just to showcase that, see what kind of lobby we're in. It also seems like they're all running pretty much the same offering. Could be a coincidence, but it also could be a full team with comms. And I just kind of assumed it would be a full team with comms, and that's why we're going to utilize every strategy we have at our disposal. So as you're going to see here, we get Midwich, which is a great map, definitely one of my favorite maps in the game. We're running crowd control with Undying. As for a challenge that I had, so I can get some more blood points during the event, so I can actually level up my characters. So as you're going to see here, sprint burst into a vault, pretty much expected, as we kind of knew that. But we just continue to kind of follow along just so that he'll lead us to his team, because we already knew he was going to do that. Just the path he was running, I already assumed he would most likely be running toward his teammates, and that's who we mainly focused on. And now we're starting to see some crowd control value, and as a result, we get a free God palette, which probably wasn't really necessary, but hey, I'm not going to complain. That's a free God palette. Now, we're pretty much following along the whole team. You're even seeing their pathing is very optimal. Hugging the wall real tight, you know what I'm saying, to cut those corners and stuff like that. You could just tell even by the movement that they're definitely here to win. So, what we do here is we go for the M1 on the ace to force the pallet out. That's honestly what we want, because clearing out the resources is pretty much going to be #1 priority. We really don't have a lot of time to waste. Especially, considering gen speeds and stuff like that, which we got the down pretty quickly, so that was good for us. I figured that was a great thing. This is awesome, right? That's great. I love that. So now the strategy begins, because I need to go ahead and place them on the hook as soon as possible, and then from here we hold the position. I had walked toward the pallet. I assumed there might have been maybe somebody hiding or something. I forget. What the process was, but put yourself in my shoes in this situation. This is pretty much your best situation, right? We have the hook, we have the positional advantage to get the gen done, we have Deadlock, so block the most progressed gen. We're just placing trails, kind of predicting that if they do get unhooked, they would go in this particular path, so I place the trail in that direction. They go for the vault and drop down, but they immediately double back. I guess they're afraid of going for a trade. So because they're afraid to go for that trade, and they're probably just going to focus the gen, this is exactly why we stay in proximity to force the second state out, because they're not going for the save at all. So that means that I can get a free hook state out of it and get him much closer to death, which means we get somebody out of the game as soon as possible. Keeping in mind that gen speed, it can be quite rapid, and you're going to see, spoiler alert, you're going to see in the rest of the match that it was quite rapid. So obviously, we're utilizing whatever we can here. We're also not really running really like the greatest perks. Obviously, crowd control was quite decent. We did go for the shot there to interrupt their animation. Normally, I try to wait it out and double hit, but I figured it would probably be best to down the survivor, then go for Ace, who gets saved, because he won't really have a lot to work with. Now, if he gets downed, it pretty much means nothing. We can just go ahead and use our Mori. So we won't have to deal with any of the decisives or anything like that. So we were then able to just intercept that, completely just eliminate it out of the equation, get him out of the game, and now we're at the 3 gen mark, which is constantly what I recommend, is clearing a survivor at the 3 gen mark, so you're able to spiral the game now, and use that to your advantage. Now, I probably could have gone for the shot there, but I was a bit more patient. They do end up picking up their teammate, who ends up just getting downed again, so that was a bit of a waste of their own time. And then because we were able to maintain the hook in the middle of the map, now we're able to just use that same hook again. And then now we can just keep an eye out for the injured survivors so that the ace can get off of the gen and then go for the save, and then we can start rotating around the hooks to provide more pressure that way. But I realized while following the survivor who's looking back and really waiting on me to continue the chase, we hear the gen going off. So then we realize, okay, that guy also has sprint burst. we're just going to go for the people going for the save, because the ones that did save are most likely the injured ones. Now, we notice, of course, a second chance perk is active off the record, as per usual. I figured that I would wait a second and then go for the shot, just in case that maybe they'll try to dodge because they heard the sound. And then that obviously got me the hit, as you can see where they got downed. I had angled it in a way that left it a narrow path, but obviously yet another second chance perk, obviously being decisive strike. So that, or you can count that, that's already 2 second chance perks in one build, so you already know how that goes. So the gen that they were working on is currently progressing, so we're in a pretty good position. They blow up another generator. We continue on the same survivor because we're in proximity of this gen anyway, so we might be able to catch them off guard. We do go for the shot there, which means we can easily get our down again. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get the trail on them, because it would have been better to get that, but obviously, considering the circumstances, we were not able to do that. So that's why we just go ahead and get the hook and then just go with that instead. In most cases, I recommend using the cage. You can see yet another gen flies. But in most cases, I would want to use the cage if I don't have a hook perk. So if I had pain res, for example, I most likely would be trying to use that. If I was using pop or something, I would be trying to use that instead. But we obviously have 2 slowdown perks, and then like I have a totem perk, so I'm trying to defend the totem with the undying. Especially for the challenge, it says to use crowd control and to chase for a certain amount of time. So now what we're doing is we're just intercepting, we're constantly pushing them back, zoning them away, so that we're once again forcing them to come and save, force them to play my game. Because if I were to follow the rule book and I were to play their game, that's what they're familiar with, that's what they're going to be the best at, and now I'm playing at a disadvantage because this is what they expect. So I assumed that was body blocking enough, but I figured once again they're trying to like fake these the hooks and all this stuff, which hilariously enough, I've seen survivors say that's quote unquote skill expression. I don't know how that possibly could be, because they still ended up getting traded out anyway. But I guess to each their own. So now we once again cage that one to save time, and then while we're doing that, we go after these arena again. Now, we know already that it is going to be, a off-the-record play, obviously. Which you can't always end up getting the torment on the survivor, but we also get some pretty good information as to where the other survivors are. We're also noticing crowd control is active. We just go ahead and clear out this pallet as a result, and we try to push them toward that window that is being blocked. So we get some crowd control value. We, of course, get the shot, but obviously, because of the second chance perks, they do have the endurance. So we just continue to follow through, because I figure that getting another person out of the game at this point on the match will at least provide us at least a 3K, which is what we're really trying to shoot for, because of considering the circumstances, considering gen speed. We're just trying to use whatever we can to our advantage here. Falls into the trail, so that helps us out. We also have a little bit of aura from Undying. We just go ahead and break the pallet to zone them that way. Not really going to play any games with the pallets, I would say, in this particular situation, because they always have another perk up their sleeves. So we don't really want to give them any leeway to let anything off, like a dead hard or decisive or something. We want to move quick because we don't have a lot of time. So now we then, we're like, all right, cool. We got them out of the game. One person to go at one gen, we can easily just get our 3K and call it a day, no problem with that. And we know that Claudette doesn't have any second chances up their sleeve because they were in the cage about twice. So we know that once we down them, that's an easy kill, and then we just, at least walk away with a win. Obviously, we can attempt to go for the 4th if possible, but we're just not in a position to do that, especially, with the pallets still being active in this area. And their ability to just kind of zigzag around, regardless of how I was going for the shot, which we were at least able to go for the cage this time. I actually had forgotten that this was the second cage for them. But either way, the play was that I would go for the cage anyway, just because I had the opportunity to do so, because of the fact that there is a lot of second chances, and our ability does counter that. So that's ultimately what we're trying to do. And which is one of the things I always say in my videos, and I recommend to keep in mind. If you see 1 second chance, you just expect there to be at least 5 more. You know, so if you see one off the record, just assume everybody's gonna have it, or everybody's gonna have at least decisive or something. They always, you know, if there's one, there's usually more. So in this situation, I was trying to look for where the ace went, but it seems like the Claudette was just the only one that, the only one in the area. The ace is busy healing, so that means I have extra time, or at least I had extra time. They're getting pretty cocky, but that's why we just go ahead and just keep zoning them away from the pallets and stuff like that. We're back to this one again. Which I figure is much like, even if I lose a generator, it's still going to be a 3K. That's why I want to force them into the trail again, so I don't have to waste any extra time having to go for a hook state. And also because I just enjoy the Mori a lot more. But as you're gonna see here, we're going for some pretty decent shots, but they're just kind of just zigzagging around, which is what's causing it to not land, of course. But thankfully, of course, we get the free M1, we get the Mori out of the way. And then, of course, as per usual with behavior, they spawn the hatch directly on top of the last survivor. So I had literally no opportunity to even try to find the last guy anyway. And you can take a look at the builds there, that they're all running second chance perks and all the other sweaty stuff. So we're going to go ahead and jump into another lobby here. You're going to see yet another set of sweaty survivors, P100s, flashlights galore, you know, everything under the sun. So we're going to dive right into that and see you know, what I could have done right and wrong and stuff like that. Now, I haven't really seen this gameplay in a long time, so I really don't know what to expect. But I guess I'm also an audience member, just as you are the viewer. So from here, we kind of look at the spread of the corrupt. We figure that they're going to be on the right-hand side from where we spawned, but we're not really trying to chase within the corrupted generators. Now, we obviously have pain res, brutal strength, and we also have pop. As we're done with our challenge, so now we have some extra slowdown, which can help us out quite a bit. Now we can see that these people are more familiar with going against Pyramid Head because they kind of know what kind of move I'm going to go for. So that's why they're like reading the pallet, they're FOBing, which the aim assist kind of bugs out there, unfortunately, so that's a massive blunder. Which a lot of the time it's not really in your control, man. A lot of the time it can just kind of freak out on its own. Which we figure we just have to leave the area, because the more time we spend in the chase, the faster the gen is going to fly. As you can see, it's already at 50%, just for that couple of seconds in the chase as it was. So, and yet another gen, about 80%. So we figure, yeah, this is not going to be a really, you know, an easy lobby, to say the least. It's going to definitely be up there, very sweaty. We already know that's coming. And yet another gen, at least 50%. So keep in mind, you know, it's no slouch. You know what I'm saying? You obviously get all the naysayers saying you don't like, you know, saying that you don't have to play a certain way. But as you're actually seeing here, that there's at least 3 to 4 gens that are already like halfway done. So don't listen to the naysayers. Understand that, you know, I utilize these strategies because of the lobbies that I'm in, because of the survivors I'm going up against. It may not reflect the same way for somebody else, because obviously everybody's MMR is a little bit different. But like in general, when you are at the high, or you know what I'm saying, or at the peak, I should say, even, but when you're at the highest MMR, it really does end up like this, where you do lose gens very rapidly, and you're going to get you know, survivors that are going to be able to counter your abilities and stuff like that. Now we're looking up in the air here because we figure that it could be a flashbang. We know that that the flashbang is not even remotely counterable. It's you know, it's a very broken perk, you know, which I try to use not to use the word broken lightly for certain things, but with flashbangs, they are quite literally like genuinely broken, where you can face a wall completely away from the blind, and they place it behind you and you're getting blinded from behind. So I don't think it's really functioning as intended, I would assume. Either way, as you're gonna see here, we then focus in on the survivor here. Ultimately, we want to get them in the trail. That's mainly what it's about. Obviously, to also threaten the hit there, which they're getting an instant blind, of course. We have brutal strength, so we can just get rid of pallets very easily. You're even seeing like they're trying to like click and BM and do all that stuff. Like they're also trying to go for saves. So like, you know, that it's at least like they have to at least be a 3 or 4 man in comms. Like you could this coordination is a little bit too perfect for randoms. You know what I'm saying? So we figure we have to keep an eye out for somebody else. Like, people running away from that generator that I just kicked is not people we want to focus on. We want to focus on the Fang that got off the hook. We see that also with the trail giving us extra information, but this is who we need to go for, really. Now, because I was a little bit slow there, which it comes with time when you really can get used to their power and understand the right timing. So in my pursuit of really trying to main Pyramid Head, I would have to definitely get a lot better with my positioning. Now, we go for the cage here because obviously I just don't have the time, nor do I have the positional advantage to even go for a regular hook, especially when I already used the pain res on her, and there's also at least 2 to 3 survivors ready to save. So it could easily even be a for the people play at some point. But thankfully, because I kind of anticipated there's probably a second chance perk, maybe dead hard, decisive, it could be anything. I figure we at least go for the cage. They pre-drop the shack pallet for whatever reason. Go for the shot there. They have the basement so they can dodge to the side and then starts teabagging. So that's unfortunate for me. The basement being in the shack was almost a bad thing for me. But I figure we just continue to utilize our strategy. We want to try to force the altruism. They want to go for saves, then that's when we start going after the same survivor. They get folded, and I knew that they were most likely in the area ready to save. That's why we faced that direction. They even had background player, as you can see, and the other one had a flashbang. Just placing it there. They placed yet another flashbang. So that was what, 2 flashbangs, background player, and a flashlight and stuff like that. That was at least, you know, 3 different opportunities. Even the pallet was there, so they had at least 3 different opportunities to try to go for a save. And then that's when we get the down on the Steve, and then we immediately walk over to get the pain res hook, so we can then blow up the gen, whichever one it is. Which I assume which I had assumed it was pretty far away, because I would assume that they wouldn't want to be near the action. That's why we then go ahead and take a look. We notice there's just 2 gens progressing. We try to go for the shot on David. We did end up getting it, which is really good for me. So they somehow had a chemical trap on that pallet there. Now, sometimes when they're trying to shine the light for 20 minutes, I usually try to attempt to shoot in their direction. Mainly because sometimes they'll stay shining it for some reason, and that gives me the opportunity to get a free hits on occasion. It doesn't always work, so I wouldn't recommend it as your go-to for every time they do that. But sometimes if you do something that is a little bit unorthodox, it may catch people off guard. So we can see by the pathing here that we're gonna have to at least force out the pallet here, because they're pretty much playing it as well as you can. There's not really a lot you can do here, because they have that other side that they stand on is essentially a check spot, and there's not a lot for me that I can really do to counter it. And as you can see, they could even just sidestep my power because if it's travel time. So we're playing it as well as we can. We do at least have some time. They of course pre-drop a flashbang, which is a good thing for me at the very least, because then I'm at least able to eliminate one of their options for going for a save. But I figure it's not even worth committing to a chase here. This gen has also progressed quite a bit. The Adam's also closing in, trying to make sure he goes for a save. We just need the game also started to kind of stutter there, which I thought was a little strange. But we do obviously go for M1 on the Adam. We just try to focus on a different survivor. Unfortunately, because this area can be quite easy to use. Now, we were at least able to clear out another pallet. They're of course going to try to book it to Shack, because that's the only thing they actually know how to loop, considering it is the easiest loop in the game. So we of course go for the shot. We were a little bit slow on that, unfortunately. If we dropped it down just a little bit sooner, we probably would have been able to walk over and then shoot. Might have been able to catch him on the vault there. So that was a bit of a blunder, but I realized I can't stay in that area. Especially because the whole team's injured. They're not even healing. They're trying to bum rush out the gens. So this is my opportunity to try to get some pressure, which we figure, which I figured as much, that they would, which they have a pallet here. It's basically like a 4-lane. You got the window and the pallet, so it's completely safe for them, regardless of my power or not, because it does take a second to drop, which then they hear it, and then of course I have to shoot it, and then obviously that provides extra time because of the fact that it has travel time. So we then focus on getting the Steve here, but of course yet another second chance, as we expect. Because God forbid they don't have a free endurance up their sleeve, or or a free stun or some nonsense, right? So we try to, like, you know, we're in a bit of a tough position because we don't really have a lot going for us. The main building is very annoying. There's not a lot we can really do about it. And we end up losing that gen anyway, but we're at least able to, you know, which are not healing at all. Which is obviously something they do, you know, in part also probably to use resilience, but also to kind of show like they're trying to convey to you that you're not a threat to them, that they don't even want to heal themselves in the first place. There's a lot of like minuscule things that they try to do to BM, if you will. So what we're doing now is we're just gonna go ahead and get a pain res hook. I figure we would go for one of these in the background, because I'm able to reach them and I know that they're way too far away, nor can they go for a save. But you know, I try to look up in the air anyway, just in case, because you never know. Background player, they can be all the way across the map and still be able to get the blind off. So it's really not worth taking the risk, especially because flashbangs are just so unbelievably broken. Because of the fact that you're being blinded, you know, from behind. You're like, I don't remember killers having eyes about the back of their head, but apparently they do. So there you have it. So, which we decide to focus on the David again. I try to hide the light there to buy me a little bit of time, but it's not really a lot I can really do, because it's you know, gen speed is still very rapid, and it's still very safe. In a lot of loops, because you can see like this jungle gym or whatever that was connects through this one, and obviously holding W on Pyramid Head is going to be effective because of that. Which I was getting a little bit too on the trigger with the shots, but thankfully because I was eliminating a lot of the pallets and stuff like that, which. Yeah, I was making a lot of mistakes here, but I was at least able to just go for the cage again because I figured I already used up everything I had. We're down to 1 gen. I can give the survivors some credit to a degree, but a lot of it I really chalk up to things that weren't really in their control, which definitely has to be the map, and a lot of the time it's just perk choice. So I hesitate to say that they were playing well when a lot of the time they made a mistake, and then the perk will continue to, you know, just give them the advantage they needed, despite, you know, me utilizing strategies and utilizing my like knowledge of the game, and then they're getting invalidated. Which here I was at least trying to catch them there, but I was a little bit too eager at the bottom there because I went for the the swing there to cancel the stagger, but it actually cost me because then he was able to just double back right back up the stairs. So. Because he was just right at the edge of the staircase where he could just run right back up, and it's like, wow, like this main building is like ridiculous. So I ended up wasting a lot of time there, unfortunately. Overall, like, I'm making a string of mistakes here that's costing me quite a bit. But we're sort of in a position where the gen is 99. We're in a position where we're using essentially an M1 killer, because our power is invalidated by a lot of different things. And because of the, like, you know, it's quite slow, it makes an audio cue, like, very loudly, you know what I'm saying? So you're not really able to hide it, per se. And also the travel time and stuff like that. Which is not a knock to, you know, to Pyramid Head, per se. It's definitely a skill thing. But because it's so easy to dodge, it really asks for an even bigger cost. It asks for an even bigger, you know, amount of, you know, skill and positioning and understanding. But you were at least able to get the David out of the way with our final judgment. Didn't even have to risk going for, you know, any pickup and risking a blind or a decisive. We at least got them out of the game, but now we're down to the last gen, which of course the gen flew. Like we like, it's to be expected. Gen speeds are insanely quick. There's not a lot you can really do about that, even with slowdown. Now, I would have to say a lot of what the survivors have been doing here has mostly due to the degree the fact that I needed to just improve at Pyramid Head, but also due to the fact that there's just a lot of perks that just give them a lot of different things. So it's really hard for, like I've said before, it's hard for me to say that, oh man, that survivor's like good, because of the fact that there's still like factors like the map and perks that really do provide a more competitive advantage to that other side, while the killer has to then, you know, navigate through that said map and also utilize their skill and their mind and knowledge of the game. So either way, we're still able to secure our win here. I would say pretty solid work overall. Because of the fact that, you know, I had a string of mistakes in the process, but we're still able to secure our win. So I was able to at least get the W there. But with that being said, thank you all for watching. If you made it this far, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to all the YouTube things for me. You know, become a member for exclusive content and perks. Join the Discord, link in the description, so you can get in and submit your match reviews and stuff like that, so you can also improve at the game. Because I'm also trying to get there, and you can see the sweaty builds there as well. But with that being said, thank you all, and hopefully I'll get a lot better with Pyramid Head in the process. Because it definitely does require a little bit more skill than you think. But anyway, see you in the next one.